love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet Union. Hello comrades and welcome back to the Ushanka Show. Well, it's about time to wrap up stories about life in the village with my grandparents and move back to Kiev. But before I do that, I would like to show you a couple of family photos, the old ones, and kind of give you a couple comments about my grandparents on these pictures. The first photo was taken in 1925. This is my grandpa Sergey on the right and his brother Vasily on the left. My grandpa was born in 1907, so he is about 18 years old on this photo. And kind of interesting to see how really poor quality suit he's wearing. So although their family was quite wealthy, by looking at his clothes you can tell that. And also interesting, if you look at the background, it looks like a column, but it's just a picture, so it's some kind of prop in a photo studio in Ukraine. So this is 1925, my grandpa Sergey with his brother Vasily. Second photo, it's my grandpa in Red Army. Unfortunately, I'm not sure who did that, but looks like it was a group photo, but it got cut out. It's all we had, just a picture of my grandpa Sergey and some other guy behind him. At first I thought this picture was taken in 1941 in June or July when my grandpa got drafted after the war started, but then I started thinking, because he looks way young on this photo, looks like he's in his early 20s. And in 1941, he was already in his 30s, because he was born in 1907, so he was already 34 years old. So I think this picture was taken when he was drafted in Red Army in peacetime, sometimes middle of 20s or 30s. And, you know, when the war started, the World War II, or Great Patriotic War, as it used to be called in Soviet Union, I don't think they had the time for photo ops and taking photos. But here is my grandpa in the military form and famous Budyonovka, that pointy hat that used to be worn in 20s and later got switched to pilotka, so which is another proof that it's not World War II era photo. And this is a really interesting picture. This is a portrait of my grandpa in 1944. As a kid, I've seen this photo on the wall, you know, in the frame for years. So I was just like, oh, that's my grandpa portrait. Only not long ago, when I was looking at these pictures and I turned the photo around, it's my grandpa's handwriting, and it said 1944 Leipzig, Germany. So this photo is quite interesting because this is the picture of him being POW in Germany, because it was too hard for her on her own to take care of the house and keep it warm, because the only way you could keep the house warm was burning wood in a wood burning stove, this big brick stove. And when I was showing her around, I suddenly realized she can't read the names of the grocery stores, because at that time we didn't have supermarkets, so there'll be a small grocery store which called молоко, milk, so there'll be all the milk products will be only there. And then another store will be called хлеб, so they'll sell only bread in that grocery store. And then we'll have овощи, фрукты, so like vegetables and fruits. So she had to memorize location of the stores and how the lettering looked, because she couldn't read. So that was quite a shock for me later, when I was like 11, 12, to realize my grandma can't read at all. So, you know, it's kind of shocked when you find out it's a person that you respect and love so much, and then for you it's just like, well, everyone can read and write, and then there's your grandma who totally not capable of reading and writing, and she was signing just putting a little cross. That was the way she was signing papers. So in order to give you a little perspective, I want to explain how my grandma's day usually looked like in the village. So she had to get up about 5 a.m. till 6 a.m. To get the wood-burning stove going, because that's how she kept the house warm, and that's what she used for cooking meals. Then she needed to get the cow milked in the morning and get that going, because they had like the whole area of the village, they shared duties to watch over the cow herd. So there'll be each buildings have a turn, and you watch the cows for a day. So they will gather all the cows in one spot, and then one person will be taking it around while they're grazing. So then she had to feed chickens and pigs, get my mom ready for school, and after that she had to head out and work all day at the collective farm. Then coming back around 5 or 6 p.m., you gotta feed animals again. Then you need to go to your garden and weed it, water it, and take care of the garden, because that was the only way you could get food in the winter, especially potatoes. And then around 8 to 9 p.m. cows come home. You need to milk a cow, again take care of all your animals, make sure people have meals, wash the dishes, and then you're ready to go to bed. So it was pretty much overdrive life every day, really hard physical work. So in their early 70s, my grandparents looked like people here in America look like when they're 90. There's one thing I was really confused in USA. I could never determine correctly the age of old people. If I talk to someone and they mention I'm 80 or I'm 75, I'll be really astonished, because for me, like, you guys look like you're in your late 50s. So, hard life, it affects the person, how you age and how you look. So, yep, this is the life of my grandma, Maria Ivanovna. On this photo you can see my grandma Maria, my grandfather Sergei, and in the middle their son, my uncle Mikhail. He was born, I believe, in 1930. So he was quite older than my mom. My mom was born in 1948, so there's 18 years difference. So apparently I found out many years later that my mother was a oops kid. They didn't plan on a second child, but it just happened that way. So on the background you could see their house. It's a log cabin like most homes built in northern Ukraine. My uncle was really talented about like an artist. He could draw portraits and pictures really well, and he was sent to Kiev. Actually, he got a document from school that school recommends him to go to the college in Kiev to study to be an artist, художник, because that time in late 40s, early 50s, people from the villages weren't allowed to live on their own. They didn't have passports, so the only way you could leave the village would be drafted to the army service or being sent by school board to attend a college. So that's how my uncle ended up in Kiev when he went to college to be an artist, and he spent the rest of his life designing book covers. Of course, that time was no computers, no Photoshop, so everything was done by hand. He maybe even designed his own. He'll design his own letter styles, fonts, and then put together covers for different technical brochures. So this is the picture of my relatives, grandma, grandpa, and my uncle. And this picture is one of the most treasured that I have of my grandpa. He is the second from the left. And picture is taken, as you can see, in the blacksmith shop. As I mentioned in my story about my grandpa's war experience, one of the reasons he was managed to get out of the labor camp in Donbass area and pretty much got his life saved is because he was good blacksmith. And so here at this picture with him with his buddies at the blacksmith shop and a collective farm. And I think this picture probably was taken sometimes in 1960s because my grandpa looks pretty old here. So he's probably kind of already about 50-some-year-old. And interestingly also, they look pretty happy. Usually Soviet people and Russian people, they don't smile much on the photos, but here they're actually grinning. So for some reason looks like they're having a good time. And another interesting details, if you look at their boots, like they all wear this kind of boots. And I think guy on the left, it's actually rubber boots. It's one of the peasants' standard outfits. It's rubber boots because it's universal. If it's raining, your feet don't get wet, and just people wear it all the time. So this is a really cool photo. I wish I knew more about it and who are the people, but all I see is my grandpa with his friends at the blacksmith shop. And here's another really cool photo. I believe it probably was taken by my uncle, Mikhail. And this is my grandparents, Grandpa Sergey on the left, and I got nose just like that. Grandma Maria on the right, and right in the middle it's my mother when she's probably about 6 or 5-year-old, and they just got a new radio. So this is the radio that it's not AM FM type of radio, so it's not taking radio waves. It actually has like a phone cable going to each building, and that's how you listen to the radio. It had only, I believe, one channel. And I remember that radio still in 80s, in late 70s, when I was spending my summers with grandparents. But this photo, after I posted on Flickr many years ago, has actually got quite popular all over internet, because later on some people claimed that I stole this picture, because it's pretty much everywhere all over, at least Russian internet. But that's my family. My grandpa, grandma, and my mother. And also interesting small detail, a small music band out of England, they asked permission and they put this picture on the cover of their CD. And I actually have that CD they sent me as a thank you. Another detail, this is a second room in the house that my grandparents lived in. It's a log cabin, but inside it was finished, so you don't see logs. And you see those in the corner behind my mom. You see there's a little Christmas toys, but we call them New Year, not toys, but decorations, New Year decorations, like Christmas decorations. So that picture was taken probably in the winter, right around New Year Eve. And those two fabrics, like I call it towels hanging down, it's actually decoration above. You don't see it on the photo, but there's an icon. It's like a holy item, a picture of the Jesus, I believe. It's how the people in Ukraine and Russia decorated. They put that special, it looks like towel, but it's not a towel. It's handmade, hand-stitched, and it's a part of decoration of the icons. So yeah, this is one of the coolest photos that became really popular. And as I mentioned, somebody was giving me a hard time when I posted in one of the Google Plus accounts about people who post pictures from Soviet Union. They claimed, hey, it's not your photo, but it is my uncle's photo. It's my family and my mom. Here's another picture of my grandparents and my mom. This is probably middle of 1950s, because my mom was born in 1948, and it's all official. Ladies wear scarves around their heads, and my grandpa has this fancy hat, and maybe that's the suit that he brought from Germany when he was prisoner of war. And here I am. This is probably somewhere around 1976. It's me, my parents, my father on the left, my mom, and Grandma Maria on the right. We are planting potatoes. So that's early May or middle of May. We came to help to plant potatoes. And it looks like it's a nice warm day. My dad doesn't wear a t-shirt. Usually it's still pretty chilly in May, but it looks like there was a nice day when this picture was taken. I believe this photo is from 1979. So look how far technology went in Soviet Union when in basically 1980 people still till their gardens using horsepower. And actually we had to wait and borrow horses from collective farm because people weren't allowed to have horses. The only animals they could have would be like pigs and cows, but for some reason no one had a horse. It's only collective farm owned horses, so we have to ask for permission to use the horse for tilling the earth so you can plant potatoes. And here's my father doing the hard work, and looks like that was a cold day because he dressed pretty warm, and I believe it's 1978. So it's kind of sad that we already sent the first man to space, or first Sputnik to space, and like 20 years ago, but we still use horses to plow the earth in the villages. And here will be the final photo, last picture on the topic of life in the village. This is my cousin Tatiana on the right, and my father on the left, and of course there's a little smiling kid. It's me holding a bag full of fish. So we're coming back from fishing trip. Our house in the village, my grandparents' house, was about a mile away from the river and about a mile away from the forest. So all summer there'll be mushroom hunting and fishing. So this is why I have such a sweet memories about my days and months in the village, because there was a lot of sun, a lot of fun. I'm being outdoors all day, fishing, playing with my friends, having good old times. And a small detail, that little device that my father holds over his shoulder, this is so-called taptuha. It's pretty much fishing device, kind of similar to like a fish trap. What you do, you go in the water, like in shallow lakes or along the shores, along the river shores where it's shallow, maybe like the deepest you go like waist deep, and you quietly plant this taptuha next to the seaweed where the fish maybe is hiding, and then you try to scare fish into it. And it actually works really well in kind of these shallow lakes or swamps, which is not really like swamp, but there's a muck on the bottom. And I did a lot of that type of fishing. You just go dress up, actually you wear clothes and some old shoes, because you walk in the mud and waist deep in the water, and then you kind of like trying to scare fish in the net, and then you pick it up really fast. That's how we've been fishing. Taptuha, really fun way of catching fish. So here is the little photo album of my life in the village and my grandparents. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you much for your support, and as always, remember you can help me to get this channel going by subscribing on patreon.com, or you can donate some money on PayPal. Thank you very much. До свидания. Goodbye. And as I mentioned in my story, he got lucky. He worked as a Ostarbeiter, so-called Eastern worker at the German farm, and he actually had a pretty decent life, and you could tell he looks not too bad for being prisoner of war. Has a suit and a tie, nice shirt. It definitely looks way better than picture of him being back in Soviet Union in 1925, as we saw earlier. So this is the picture of my grandpa while he's in Germany being prisoner of war. This picture shows my grandpa back in his village. There is no date on this photo, so I assume it's sometimes 1950s, probably end of 1950s, because there's a couple similar photos and my mom is already in the picture and she was born in 1948. But anyways, here he is posing in his garden, which we had 0.4 acres, not acres, hectares. That's what the government allowed for each family in a country to have. So he has some corn, and by his feet it's a tobacco plant. My grandpa grew his own tobacco, dried it, and he smoked it by grinding tobacco leaves and then wrapping them in the pieces of newspaper, and that's how it was made, so-called samakrutka, self-made cigarette. So here is my grandpa. As you could tell, he is already looking old, and he is not even he is around 50 years old on this photo. And this is my grandma, Maria Ivanovna. Picture taken in the end of 70s by my cousin. He owned the camera, which not many people, owned the cameras that time. For example, my family didn't own the camera till 1988, when I became a student and could afford to buy one with my stipend. But before that, we never had a camera, so all these black and white pictures is thanks to my cousin and to my uncle, who had the camera, and also they were developing their own black and white film and printing all these pictures. So fortunately, because of them, I got all these beautiful photos of my grandparents. So my grandma, looking back, she had a really tough life. Born in 1907, just like her husband, she lived through the World War II, having husband being gone pretty much almost 5 years. As I explained already in the story, he became prisoner of war in 1941 and spent most of the time in Germany, then spent more time in a Soviet labor camp in Donbass. So she was raising on her own their kid, my uncle Mikhail, while trying to survive and take care of the garden, take care of the animals, while husband was away. She never went to school, so she didn't know how to read and write. And of course, when I was a little kid in the village, I could never kind of notice that. But when my grandfather Sergei passed away in 1981, we started bringing our grandma to Kiev for the winter